Traveling and exploring new cultures has been one of the best things in my life. It's been a huge part of my life for a couple decades. I've lived in 10 countries before settling in the US. And once we had kids, I didn't want to give that up. I always heard people say, like, go before it's too late and travel a lot. But I also want to travel with my kids. At the same time, if you talk to almost any parent, they'll say one of the worst things you can do is travel with young children and toddlers, especially. And it's a total nightmare. So when we had our kids, I really wanted to travel, but I had to figure out a cool way to do that. And in this video, I'm gonna go through 3 of the best things we've done to help our travel be easier, and also share a few things that didn't help us at all. So for context, I was born in Finland, where my parents still live, and I've lived in multiple different countries before settling in the US, where my wife is from. So our grandparents live in the US, not in the city where we live in, and also my parents live in Finland. So we kind of, just to see them and family, we travel for those reasons. At the same time, we want to show the kids different parts of the world, and also want to enjoy traveling ourselves, because it's been a big part for me and my wife. So when we had kids, I was Googling real hard on like what to do when you're traveling with an infant, and what to do when you're traveling with a toddler. We've crossed the Atlantic multiple times with our kids, and started traveling when they were as young as like 2 months old, and did a red eye, like a 12-hour trip to Hawaii. So we've been through some wars and learned some lessons. But when I was studying it before, I didn't get any helpful insights from by Googling it. The advice was like, wear easy shoes to put on, or remember the passports, or pack snacks, or my favorite, avoid germs. Like, what kind of advice is that? So starting with stuff that was not helpful, and the first one is to bring any kind of a toy. One of the tricks of traveling with an infant or a toddler is traveling light, because even if you try to travel light, you still have tons of stuff, and then you have the kids to hold on. So in the beginning, we brought all these different toys and this and that, and over and over and over and over again, we found out that kids didn't care about those toys. When they're infants or little babies, they like a water bottle can be a toy for them, or whatever. And when they get a little bit older, just observing the new cultures and places was enough of excitement and stimulus for them that they didn't need toys. Now, if they have like a sleep toy that they need for sleep, sure, maybe like a book or something. But like generally, any kind of a toy, I find, is to be totally useless. And you can get toys anywhere, and you can be creative and make anything in an airport to be almost a toy for a kid. Second thing that I found to be completely useless is the airline bassinets. And when we first started traveling, one of the advice I was given is like, get the bassinet, it's so great. And I was like, you have to get a seat, and it's a hassle, and it's a first come, first served in certain airlines. And it took me so much time. One time I remember like waiting 3 hours for the customer service on an airline that I actually have status with to get the bassinet. And then you get the bassinet. First of all, you can use it at takeoff and landing, okay? So that's out. So depending on how long the flight is, that can be a big part of the flight actually. Secondly, because you're in kind of the first row, you can't have any of your other kid stuff in it. So if you have like different bottles, or you have your diaper bag, that cannot be with your in front of your legs. It has to be put up, which is annoying because it's quite handy to have a diaper bag. And then finally, at least our kids have never enjoyed the bassinet, and they struggle sleeping there. So the best thing you get is like an extra table during the middle part of the flight. So if you get it, maybe nice, but in general, we try to get a seat 1 row after the first row, so we can put our stuff in front of us, and we can easily access stuff that we need, like wipes and whatnot. The third thing we tried is when you have longer flights, especially if you go over the Pacific or Atlantic, long flights, is for them to sleep more comfortably. Obviously, once they get older, they have their own seat, but we bought a jet kit, kind of a bassinet suitcase luggage, and I really wanted to love this. This was one of the things that I wanted to like love so much. It looks cool, it's cool to pull, and it becomes basically luggage that becomes a bed for a little toddler. But every time we used it, we had issues. We had issues that it wouldn't fit at certain airplanes. We had issues that it would open up weirdly. And there's also other kind of these bassinet suitcases and bassinet covers for kids, and I generally see every time our kids just sleeping sideways. So for us, it was not worth the headache, and it's better to have not a suitcase at all, in my opinion, or if once they're a little bit older, maybe like a suitcase they can easily pull and handle. This one was not easy with kids. Then the things that have been so helpful for us when we travel. First of all, there is a right safer harness. Now, this is not for infants or tiny little babies, but it is for toddlers, depending on the height and the weight that you have. But it's basically a vest that you can use, and you can crunch it into a small ball that becomes a car seat. So the idea, especially have multiple kids bringing multiple car seats, is a nightmare. And if you rent them at the car rental, they charge you an arm and a leg. Actually, the other thing we've done is you go and get a car seat and then you return it at the end of the holiday, but that's a little shady. But the best thing is one of the best things we've bought is this Right Safer harness. It's not that expensive. It's super teeny tiny. And if you marry it with like an inflatable booster seat, you can get even bigger 2-year-old or definitely a 3-year-old to fit into it, and you don't have to bring anything. It goes into even a small carry-on very easily. And in the same realm, the other thing that we've loved is the Doona. You've probably seen this at different Mon blogs and videos, but it has been the best. We got it early on because it was recommended by so many people. Since then, we've tried different car seats and we've tried different strollers. And what I can say is that the Doona, which is both a car seat and a stroller, it's not a good car seat. And it is not a good stroller, I can tell you that. But it is life-changing and amazing when you travel. It's just so handy. We've taken it to cobble streets in Stockholm and weird side streets in Portugal, and the wheels are kind of wonky, but it's good enough. And it works as a car seat up to a certain point. You can only use it one way, but just the ease of using it is amazing. To the same realm, I can't really recommend the other travel strollers either. They're not great strollers either. So I'm talking about like a yo-yo or something that goes the overhead storage inside. The idea is amazing. Similar to the Jet Kids luggage, I really wanted to love our TSA approved stroller because you could get it in and you don't have to check it in at the gate. But the benefit of checking it at the gate versus getting it inside the airplane is like none. First of all, some airplanes you can't fit pushing it, so you have to fold it at the door anyway. So what's the difference leaving it at the gate versus bringing it inside? Not much. Secondly, they are not great strollers either. Not much better than a Doona, for example. A little bit better. There's storage, but not much better. And often I just use it to like put our luggage in it. Again, depends how many kids you have. This could be like having one of those might be helpful, but generally I say the travel strollers are overrated. And if you go on a longer trip, then don't bring a stroller at all. Bring a Doona, or if you bring a proper stroller, bring a proper stroller that's actually helpful. Another thing that's been life-changing for us is a good carrier. I love the Baby Bjorn. I think we've bought now like 8 carriers, and most of them suck. And we've also bought backpacks, like the hiking backpacks. Like I think we have the Osprey one. That's amazing in theory if you go like big mountain outdoorsy stuff. But when you're traveling, even though you can kind of bring it in, it's not been helpful because the storage space is so small in that one, and then it takes away your carry-on luggage. And if you use the many other carriers, like they're not ergonomic enough, like they might look cooler. So I would get a really good ergonomic carrier that you can use front facing and back facing, and I often carry even like our 3-year-old in it. They can hold a lot of weight, and it's just handier to have your hands free and to do other stuff like pull in a luggage. Now obviously it depends where you're traveling, but just having one piece of carry-on that rolls easily, and maybe a backpack that is like a diaper bag that you can put on it, it's so easy, and then you carry the kid, is been for us like the easiest way to travel. And a few other smaller tips. Time your flights with your nap schedule. That's pretty obvious. We've had this backfire too when the airplane's been delayed and then they're just screaming on the runway. But in general, I mean, that is great if you can do that. Secondly, weirdly, if the airplane is empty, sometimes I get upgraded and it's actually worse to be in first class. Like everybody's staring at you because they're just so posh and they hate kids in many cases. And if you're in economy, there's extra seats. So one of the hacks is if the airplane is on the emptier side, talk at the gate or to the flight attendant if there's space, so you can get an extra 1 or 2 seats for you and your family if there's space in the airplane. You can always also sometimes bring in the doona. So at the gate, if you ask if there's empty seats and they can place you in a way, you can bring in the doona into the airplane and put it on an actual seat, and then they can have their own spot even if they're a baby. So sometimes actually being in first class or business class is not more helpful. Obviously, if the airplane is completely full, it can be helpful. But in many cases on flights, I've had more success being in economy and having more space than being in business class or first class. Another random advice is travel during the actual holiday because the airports are empty. One of the worst times to travel is Monday to Friday, early morning, even though I saw some people recommend that that's a good idea. But then you usually have long TSA lines with business travelers. Travel when nobody else is traveling, like a Christmas Day or Thanksgiving Day. If you can, because of your schedule, if you can do that, airports are empty, there's no lines anywhere, airplanes are empty. Just try to fly on times when other people don't want to fly, if any way possible, and avoid the rush hour. It's just like, it's already bad without kids flying then, so now imagine with kids. It's gnarly. One advice about screen time. Our older kid never got screen until we were doing like one really big trip to Europe, and then we gave him a screen, and very quickly he got addicted. So we had to cut him off from screens completely because it was just not serving us and our family. But there are drawing boards that look like an iPad that the only thing you can do is draw and redraw, and that's been a helpful kind of an iPad replacement for us. It's also very thin, very cheap, and very lightweight, so it doesn't take much space. I just kind of put it next to my laptop, and it's a great place to hold it. Another advice for screen time is download kids songs on your phone, be it like Spotify or whatever Apple Music you're using. Often our kid, if he's like really tired or bored or wants like a distraction, or I don't want to give him a TV or watch a movie, we play songs like kids songs, and weirdly just getting those kids songs and having him listen to that has been really helpful without having to give him a screen. And what we've noticed that actually, unlike with the screen time, which has been addictive and caused him to like sleep worse and have worse tantrums, with the songs, he's become a happier child, and he sings those songs all the time, and his language skills have evolved. So we've actually seen the opposite with playing music to the kids for what we've seen with screen time, and it's been still a great distraction during travel. Okay, so that's the flying airport portion of it. But when you get to actual locations, some of the things that we've found to be helpful. One is definitely up your vitamins out of the gates. You don't want to get the kids to be sick. It's one of the worst things to get to finally a destination. You've gone through the gauntlet of the airplane ride. You're finally ready to explore culture, and then they get sick. That's not fun. So I'm not huge on kids' vitamins or things, but like we do all kinds of vitamins, silver, this and that for immunity, and I think that's very helpful. The other thing we do, similar that I do for myself, is grounding and sunrise, sunset. So once we get there, we try to get and touch our feet on earth, get in a water, ideally an ocean, see the sunrise, see the sunset. My experience, kids handle jet lag way better than adults, so that's not really ever been a huge issue for us, jet lag. Even when we flew to Finland during midsummer where there's no night and it's sunlight 24/7. But still having that kind of circadian rhythm grounding process has been very helpful for us. As far as sleeping arrangements, we've had really good luck just making weird bets for kids at even hotels. So we usually get 2 queen beds and we can kind of put the kids there, but we've also just taken pillows and have the kids sleep on the floor. Like, they don't mind, and they've been totally fine. Now, what has been helpful is closets. Sounds really weird to put your kid in a closet, but you can make it darker and more closed off. So if there is a closet or some sort of closed space where you can fit in a baby on the floor, that's been helpful, be it an Airbnb or hotel. And also having even like one separate space. So some hotel rooms, there's a separate kind of bedroom and then like a living room, so to say, with maybe a kitchenette. That's been really helpful for us. For kids' activities when traveling, I've definitely noticed that Google Maps, the satellite view is amazing. I just go and look for playgrounds. Obviously, you can also Google playgrounds, but in certain countries, they're called something else, Spielplatz or whatever. But yeah, look for places that are park areas or that look like playgrounds. That's super helpful. Normally, we only plan 1, maybe 2 activities per day for kids. And then everything is planned around their nap schedule, which can be a little bit annoying, but trust me, is like missing out a nap unless they're a baby and you can just have them nap in the carrier. It's usually better to make sure they sleep well and then plan your activities around it. That's it. Hopefully this advice was helpful to you. I definitely recommend traveling with kids. It's been amazing for us before we had kids, and it's been amazing for us after we have kids. But what was true is that you had to adjust the way you travel. But as long as you do that, I think traveling and learning and about new cultures and seeing new places can be a huge gift to kids. I do not believe that they have to remember it all. Instead, I believe firmly in epigenetics and exposure they get, even if they don't remember every trip and everything. Plus, you do take photos and videos probably that you can show to them later, like we showed our kids, and they love it. Do you have any other advice you want to give to parents traveling that has been helpful to you? Leave it a comment below and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video.